Hey there everyone, and I thank you so much for tuning into yet another orchid adventure with me, Maria Young. Okay, so today what we're going to be focused on is this very magnificent, very glorious orchid right here, which is called the Zygopetalum. As you guys can see here, folks, this Zygopetalum is absolutely magnificent in its blossoms, and one of the greatest benefits of having this orchid is the fact that it has such sweet smelling fragrances that is emitted from these gorgeous blossoms and is known for filling up an entire room. Now, as you guys can see, these blossoms are so appealing to the eye, and what's so magnificent about these blooms is that they come in all sorts of patterns, from your stripes to your splotches, speckles and spots, and they also come in an assortment array of colors, as you can see, with your greens and your browns, your maroons, your purples, your magentas, your white. Definitely just a glorious blossom, a sight to behold. Now you will discover that the spike will actually come from the base of the plant, usually on a new growth that is not fully matured into a pseudobulb. An interesting fact about the Zygopetalum is that it is considered an epiphyte, meaning that it grows on plants and trees and needing a host to sustain itself, or it can also grow in the ground, meaning that it is considered a terrestrial orchid as well. And a very important thing to note about the Zygopetalum is that indeed it loves a lot of moisture. So that means that their medium should never be allowed to go dry. Now, although this orchid does like lots of moisture, it is important to note that this orchid still needs a lot of air circulation within its roots. So it's not a good idea to drench the roots. The roots should never remain in standstill water. Now, this is an orchid that does not require a dormancy period. So even in the colder weather, you can still water this orchid. Just water it just a little bit more sparingly. This orchid grows well in cool to intermediate temperatures, ranging from your 50s to 60s at night and to 70s to 80s in the daytime. Now, another important thing to know is that this orchid requires bright and indirect sunlight. Note that if you do not provide it with enough sunlight, it may not produce its blossoms for you. This orchid does like a lot of humidity and usually requires between 40 to 60% humidity. The Zygopetalum also requires good circulation, and if this Zygopetalum does not receive the right amount of circulation, you may notice some black spot or splotching on its leaves. During its growing season, which is usually spring and the summer months, it is important to water this orchid frequently, and again, never allow its medium to dry out. Now, in the cooler months, of course, you can water less frequently, but again, remember, do not allow this orchid to dry out completely. Now, in order to keep this orchid in tip-top condition, it is very important that you fertilize your orchid every other feeding with a fertilizer that is half strength. Now, of course, during the cooler months, when this orchid is inactive, you can reduce the fertilizing to once a month. If you do start noticing black spots at the very tip of the leaves, this may be an indication that your plant is getting too much fertilizer. So of course, if you see this, make sure you reduce your fertilizer quantity. And if you are thinking of propagating your Zygopetalum through division, please make sure that you have at least 3 healthy pseudobulbs for your division. The Zygopetalum, very exotic, beautiful, and easy to grow. Indeed, a gift to any collector.